right, so we'll go ahead and open the meeting up to public comment. And we're gonna have 20 minutes as normal, 20 minutes total, 2 minutes per speaker. We're gonna ask that we keep, maintain decorum, keep any kind of personal attacks, insults, things like that to a minimum. And let's go ahead and get started there. We got public comment.
As I was telling David before fireworks, they're already out in my neighborhood, by my building. I've discussed it over the years with the older person, and he's like, we can't tin them down because they move around so quickly. But as I've done some research, it's actually a federal offense to have fireworks in Illinois of that level. When 9/11 came, after 9/11, they started restricting what you could bring across state lines. And fireworks like that are among those, and since they're not manufactured in Illinois, if you have them, and it's a mandatory 1-year prison sentence. And so I don't know what to do, but it's just, I mean, my building seems to be a target. And it starts earlier and earlier every year. This past week, about every night, so.
All right, well, thank you for your comments.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have any other public comment?
Yeah, I want to thank Councilor Vargas for getting us a meeting with Commander Linus of the 14th District. It is such wonderful news to hear. I'm so glad we had that meeting and set it up. I also wanted to speak for Allison Schmidt, who is unfortunately out of town this weekend, and she asked me to raise some concerns she had. Allison emailed Commander Linus in late April, and a bunch of us called her also in late April, or tried to call her. Didn't get through. I was one of those. I didn't get through to her, but I let them know that I wanted to speak to her and that we wanted her to come to our 14th District Council meetings. I said I've been a member of CAPS for 14 years when I did that, so I wasn't speaking for the District Council, I was speaking for myself. And Allison wrote her an email, but I was very concerned about the response that Commissioner, Councilor Lawrence sent back to her, in which she said he is the only person who should be able to talk to Commander Linus, and he told her to basically refrain from communicating with Linus, and really came down pretty heavy on her. I thought that was really unfair. I mean, as citizens, we're all entitled to call Commander Linus or send her emails whenever we want. She did not pretend to speak for the 14th District Council. In the email that I saw, she just said that she wanted the commander to come to our meetings. And I mean, we've been waiting for months and months for you to set up this meeting, and it hasn't happened. I mean, every time we ask about it, it's, oh, no, she can't come on Saturdays. No, she can't come. She can't make an appointment with us. But yet, when a bunch of us called and emailed,
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Hammond.
Thank you.
I also want to thank Councilor Vargas for setting the meeting. If you all recall, it was 3 months ago now, or 3 meetings ago, that we made the request that the commander come, and Councilor Laurent ducked it for the last 3 months, making excuses each time for why the commander couldn't be here. And so the commander being here is thanks to the pressure that neighbors put on the commander. We directed phone calls to her, and Ashley was our supporter in office who also helped organize this meeting. And so Councilor Laurent, if anything, was a roadblock each and every time. And so with this meeting coming up, I just want to say I have concerns about Councilor Laurent's ability to be neutral in this Q&A with the commander. And so I think I would just reiterate that I think up to this point, Councilor Laurent has only been opposed to the majority of the neighbors. And so I would like to put forward the request that he be removed as chair, because he's not fit to serve in that role, because he's not neutral. He's only in defense of the commander. And it showed when Allison sent an email to the commander and the commander forwarded it to Councilor Laurent. But we're not your subjects, Councilor Laurent. You serve us, you serve in office, and so that's what I would reiterate. And so yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you for your comments. Any other public comments? Tucker.
I'm curious to see any polling that shows Laurent's popularity among the neighbors. But regardless, the police district council is a good first step for rule of the people. So there's other things that we can be doing to give people more power, to make their politicians more accountable. One thing we can do is we can make the office of mayor a recallable position. If you want to sign a petition that will put that on a referendum, I have a petition you can sign. I also have a petition you can sign to put one of the to put an independent anti-war pro-police reform candidate on the ballot for president. So please come see me if you're interested in more people power. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Tucker. All right, any other public comments? Mr. Burke.
Hi. So my understanding is the purpose of CCPSA is to promote public safety and accountability of the police doing their job properly. But I note the crime statistics that came out on Monday. Theft, which is the highest category of crime, is up 10% this year and 106% in our district in the last 3 years. Aggravated battery up 53% this year. Shootings up 111% this year. And robbery, which is at a historically high level, is up again 7%, but for perspective, up 93% over the last 3 years. So I would like to ask the council to do two things. First is, now that they've been in place for a year, I'd like them to say today what this council has accomplished in the last year. And I'd like to know what the objectives are for the rest of this year. And just with respect to the attack we just heard on Councilor Laurent, which is completely unfounded, it's clear that the commander had a scheduling issue. Last month sent her #1 assistant to observe, and then scheduled the meeting that she always intended to attend once a special date was set up, which is exactly what Councilor Laurent has been saying for the last 4 months. So any attack on him is just another fabricated controversy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. Any other public comments? All the way in the back?
Hi. So in relation to public safety and some of these issues, I have been accumulating some relevant books, and if anybody's interested in looking at them and potentially borrowing them, it's my contribution as kind of a lending library. They run the gamut in some degree. I would, some of you might have already heard of My Grandmother's Hands, which is well known, which is talks about how to do care, and it specifically has chapters also in relation to police. Here's about how to show up for each other. You know, we have to have a vision of what a safe community can look like, and some of these books have some of that in there. And this one is was written. I got to see the women that wrote it that were incarcerated at the time they were able to do this exciting history project, and it's very informative. So there's more good stuff in there.
I have a question for you. I'm a former school
I
librarian.
don't know if you can. Maybe you have to ask me after.
Yes.
If you could hold.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you for your comments. Any other public comments anyone would like to share? Going once, going twice, sold. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get moving through our meeting. Okay, approval of minutes from, we've got April and May to go through. Got copies of April here available. This is a master copy, and this is a narrative version. So at the request of Councilor Orlikoff, that we include a lot of attachments, such as the Impact for Equity's updated reports and things like that, and some of the events that has been promoted. We include some of the flyers in there for historical reference and everything like that. So I've got the narrative versions in front of you. I do have the full version that we intend to submit here. If you'd like to look at that, it's just small text, so that's why I want to make certain we're furnished with those.
Sure, yeah, sorry, I guess, for imposing this burden. Yeah, I'm intending just for, there to be hyperlinks within the notes to these full reports. But yeah, I guess for fullness, you're providing these. Yeah, appreciate it.
So we've got a deadline to get this actually approved today, so we can have it published.
I do have one question. Have we approved March minutes?
Yes.
We did, okay, gotcha. Sorry, yeah, I can motion to approve, April minutes.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Minutes of April are approved by unanimous consent. And I also have, I want to get them mixed up, I have the same regard for May, got the master list there, and I've got the narrative here for review as well. I've got the different colors on the post-its. Keep them in order at a glance. So if you want to take a few moments to review the May minutes.
Okay, yeah, I would like to propose an amendment, which is just the spelling of a public commenter that I see. The name starting with B should be spelled F-A-A-Y-A-N-I.
F-A-A-Y-A-N-I.
Yeah.
F-A-A-Y-A-N-I.
F-I-I.
Okay.
But,
And
yeah,
that's-
accepting that edit.
Which one is that one?
It's under, it's, second from the bottom, above Cliff Nellis. Okay,
Right there.
yes.
Thank you very much. With that amendment, any objections to the minutes, or did you want to take more time to look at them?
I'm okay.
No objections.
Okay, can we get a motion to approve the minutes as amended for Council Orlikoff?
Sorry, one quick second. Just this slide. Sorry, is the pretextual presentation included?
There's a hyperlink in there.
Somewhere.
Well, let's see. This is the, just like, yeah, it's in the.
Oh, this is a hyperlink?
There's a hyperlink to it. This is
Okay.
problem with Chicago traffic stops, as you had sent as an attachment.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't a link written out, but in the PDF, there may be a hyperlink.
There is one,
Okay.
yes, so
Thank
as
you.
a matter of fact, let me, I know I went in there and put the links in. Might be combined with next to it another.
If there's an issue, we could update it after the fact. later.
And I'll just put on there, add link, if that's fine with you, or,
Okay.
because I do have what you had added, which is this the same one?
Yes.
So it's in the master version slide deck. It's a
Okay.
PDF format.
And does that mean that it is accessible to people?
It's
that
gonna be
look
attached.
on the website?
This is what.
Oh, excellent, okay,
Yeah.
beautiful, thank you, appreciate that.
So, okay, so I can take that amendment out, so we're not gonna add the link, that's gonna be part of the master PDF. Okay, so with the amendments proposed by Council Orlikoff, do we have any other objections? All right, can I get a motion to pass the minutes from May as amended by Council Orlikoff?
My motion to pass the minutes.
Can I get a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? And the minutes will pass by unanimous consent. All right.
Thank you for shepherding us through that.
No, it gets a little arduous, especially the more hands that get involved in there, so. Like I said, I want to make certain that, full disclosure, and everybody has an opportunity to make changes, as you pointed out, and I do appreciate that. Council member updates. Which one do you want to go first? Council Vargas?
What's been going on? So a few days ago, I attended the last CCPSA meeting. The interim commission said goodbye and spoke on their goals, and that was interesting. We also had a detective, the chief of detectives, speak about robberies and what they're doing to address that and the high crime rates going on and closing out cases. Which was interesting. CCPSA usually records that, so I recommend for you to look that up. And the other thing is speaking on like what the council has done for the past year. I've attended all nomination meetings having to do with picking the 7 members who are sitting currently, who will sit in as the new commissioners. And that was a lot of hours, and that was hard. In the beginning, I also heard your stress about the robberies, and in my district council capacity, I organized electeds, violence prevention organizations, and police to do a town hall and to hear you all, because they're the people who have control of so many resources and people who should. My idea is spending more money on violence prevention organizations to engage the youth who are committing these crimes. These high crime rates speak highly about the need for livable wages and more jobs in the community. And that's what I will say about about what's going on right now. And around police accountability, I did speak with OIG, and OIG gave a case that I worked with a lawyer on regarding a migrant. I know that I speak about it every single meeting. It was when a cop showed up to volunteer someone with very large guns, and then the migrant got a very menacing phone call. So I met with the lawyer, and we wrote something up for the OIG to investigate. It turns out that the OIG sent it back to COPA, and it's sitting with BIA currently. So I'm still working with the executive director of CCPSA and also with some policy folks who worked in COPA before to kind of navigate the system and find justice. And I will say that for the past year, I've been learning how to navigate these systems of accountability, and there's still so much work to do because all we have is COPA and BIA at the moment, and there's a lot of work to be done there to find true accountability and justice for misconduct from CPD. All right, those are my updates.
Thank you very much, Councilor Vargas. It's good to have you back, by the way.
Thank you.
Councilor Orlikoff.
Sorry.
Thank you. We had an event that the 14th District Council co-organized in Humboldt Park on May 18th, and it was a lot of fun. We had 50 bike riders. It was a relatively short, I think just over 6 mile ride, but the original organizer was our friend and colleagues in the 25th Police District, and then they brought in the 26th Ward and District and 4th State Rep, 8th Cook County District. Anyway, that was a big success. I want to give a shout out to Cermak Produce donated $200 in gift cards for ingredients that supplied a vegetarian portion of the cookout that my parents did the labor for. Also, the Violence Prevention Group also had meat and side options as well. So there was a lot of food and a bounce house, and a lot of fun was had. As far as the purpose, quickly, it relates to violence prevention in the sense that when there is violence, when there are shootings or things that make people nervous, and then they might stay inside more, it can have a negative effect on a space. When you do have positive activities in spaces, and you show that you're building community together, that has a positive effect both on the community and on the safety of that direct space. So it was from Humboldt Park through to Hermosa, going through Logan Square, hitting a lot of nice spots, and yeah, that was fun. Also, oh yeah, we also had donations from the Theory Cafe of some coffee and treats, so just mentioning that. Then there was a Peace Walk, the 29th annual, also March for Peace was on the 25th, and that also drew in the mayor, as well as the deputy mayor for community safety, Gary and Gatewood, and a bunch of other folks. And that's one quick second to see if I have anything else that might summarize most of my updates. Oh, here, this should go on the updates. We are confirmed to have a community table for the 14th District Council at the Logan Square Farmers Market on June 23rd. The 14th District Council has the community table reserved. So I'm looking to fill the schedule. It's from 8:30 to 3 p.m. And if you'd like to drop in or volunteer for an hour or two, or as long as you'd like, please get a hold of me. If you need to pass on the sign-up sheet virtually to anybody, you can, it's bit.ly/do14news. And our emails are on the website, david.orlikoff at City of Chicago. I'm gonna get business cards soon.
What was that again? What was the URL?
bit.ly/do14news is to sign up. It's the same as my paper sign up, but for virtual.
Thank you.
And I will be getting business cards soon. I have a form to request them here.
If I could
Yes.
interrupt, that for phonetic sake, that's bit.ly, not.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's correct. So I don't know, that's how I say it, but I guess.
No, I mean.
Thank you.
No, I mean, because bit.ly,
Yeah,
it's like,
doesn't
is that LE or LEE, like there's many different ways.
Oh, I
So I just wondered.
No, thank you. Yeah, but it's a big opportunity. We're only gonna have it one day this year, so we definitely wanna make it a big event. I'm also gonna be requesting today some funds from our budget to prepare for that. I think mostly a large banner or tablecloth to have at the table. Okay, yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I've been continuing the conversations with Commander Linus about setting up the special meeting, which Ashley, Councilor Vargas kind of drove it home. Thank you very much for your help on that. And I've also had the opportunity to provide some training for our municipal colleagues in the 5th District, and I've attended some of the other meetings in 22, which is Mount Greenwood area, Beverly, and I also went to 16th, just to kind of get an understanding of how everybody else is doing it, what challenges they run into, where I can help, where they can help, that sort of thing. And we've also started forming up our coalition of people to have like an Area 5 subgroup of district councilors that I mentioned last month. Other than that, that's my updates. Let's go ahead and get into the discussions if there's no. All right, so we got discussion on police accountability, the BIA investigations, and through CPD officer membership in.
That's correct.
I guess you're leading that discussion.
Yeah, so I'd like to, well, I might not read the whole thing, but thank you. I believe I discussed this issue a little bit last month, but was somewhat unprepared for it. News agencies filed information requests for the Bureau of Internal Affairs to update on the progress of investigations that were heavily publicized about CPD members who were members of the Oath Keepers as well as the Proud Boys. And there were different lists and different types of evidence, including credit card payments and other things. The Southern Poverty Law Center, one of their representatives has been at a number of our meetings. I don't see him here today, but they wrote a letter that they sent to the city that received some sign-ons from other elected officials, and the timing has not. More district councilors may sign on to this. We're not all listed on the initial release, but. A couple updates, the CCPSA released a joint statement with CPD and BIA saying that they were working to create greater transparency for all BIA investigations. Currently, BIA has not had as much transparency as COPA does in their investigations. There was immediately after the investigation a large public push, and Anthony Driver, the president of the CCPSA, who is returning, pushed for full transparency from BIA, and they did post all of the PDFs for their investigations in these cases. So those have been online for a month or more. And more recently, the CCPSA has pushed to have more transparency in general with BIA, which I think is a positive thing. However, what the transparency in this case shows is that the investigation was very shoddy, or was hardly really done at all. It only consists of interviews, single interviews with the accused officers and their defense attorneys, and they seem to have closed the investigation just based on the initial claims of the defense attorney, which, to ham-fist a little bit, number one is that, well, you can't really prove anything, and number two, even if they were a member, that doesn't matter. So this is problematic for a number of reasons. It seems to potentially set a standard that it's all right for police officers to be members of these groups, or that if they are members of these groups, they will not suffer any consequences. This is something that Larry Snelling had promised, even when he was under consideration and after taking office, would be dealt with zero tolerance. So it is a little bit shocking to see no action taken. Besides transparency, I think that it's obvious what we knew before, that BIA cannot really be trusted with this jurisdiction to investigate their own officers, at least in these cases. And that power definitely needs to be given back to COPA. In the reports, it also says that BIA requested some of the news agencies that reported on it to do further investigations for them, or to provide them with additional evidence. They also made a request to OIG to do investigations for them, which is really unacceptable given that they fought publicly to have this jurisdiction instead of OIG. And OIG not having the power on paper to do this is not capable to exercise, even not having the resources. They're not able to exercise their authority without having that jurisdiction. The BIA did not use a single police power in their investigation. No subpoenas, no compulsions of anything. Again, it was only the interviews, and it was also done poorly. So what should they have done? They should have investigated the associations of the officers, spoken with some of their associations, their coworkers, past and present, as well as some victims that they've worked with, and as well as suspects, and members of the community. It looked at some of their activity both on and off duty, including social media activity. One of the reasons they said it didn't matter that they were members in the past was because they didn't know what was on the Oath Keepers webpage in the past. There exists much technology to figure that out, the Wayback Machine, the Internet Archive. However, they used a weird page to a technological philosophy website to say that you couldn't trust any digital information, which is a really bizarre, nihilistic, solipsistic thing for BIA to claim when they use computer systems in their job. So it was really pathetic, and it just shows what we knew all along. There's no way the BIA can have this power. They've completely failed. And that power needs to be taken away from them immediately, as soon as possible. Yeah, we have some copies of the Southern Poverty Law Center letter that are on the table. Yes, Sally?
I did some research on that, and I found that Sergeant Michael Nowak, Nowacki, in the 14th District, has been a member of the Oath Keepers and was part of this investigation, and nothing has been done. So this is something we might want to ask Commander Linus about. Can we get a real investigation of his participation in the Oath Keepers? Because the thought of having an Oath Keeper running around policing in our district just makes me sick.
Thank you for that.
All right. Is that all you have for the BIA?
Yes.
Mr. Burke.
Councilor Lecoq, thank you for that update. I share your concerns 100% and was shocked myself with the outcome. And I thought I heard at the end of your comments you saying something about how the structure should change. And I'm wondering, is there any activity along those lines, or are we just stuck with that if the mayor and the city council don't do anything? And even if they did change the structure, is there any appeal or follow-up possible in that administrative process?
Thank you for the question. I don't want to fumble too much with it. I would say it's definitely something for public pressure to impact as well as advocacy. I would recommend maybe taking a copy of the Southern Poverty Law Center letter. I think that the issue of jurisdiction of these oversight bodies can be hairy. There could be parts of it that maybe could be impacted by CCPSA policies with CPD, but there may be other parts of it that would need to be addressed through the ordinance and city council, and also even the FOP contract as well sometimes is part of negotiating what's in BIA versus COPA. I don't know what the exact next step is, but it's definitely organizing and with our elected officials as well as our community.
So would you be able in the next month to include advice to the community on how to follow up? Because if political pressure is necessary, we all have the ability to contact our alders and our neighboring alders and build energy to make that change, because we can't have hate groups penetrating our police. That's just completely unacceptable.
Yes, thank you. And I see I would say definitely I can try to follow up, and if you you can definitely contact your alder or as well as the mayor about how you feel about this. And for information, you can also look at the SPLC letter or the documents online. I can help you find them if you need help finding these documents. Was there another hand to close up?
It's to your question. There was an ordinance that Carlos Rosa introduced last week to expand the powers of the currently existing CCPSA. One of those powers would be having the CCPSA that exists now would be expanded to 11 people and be directly elected, and then they would have increased powers, including negotiating the police contract. Right now, the city law department has that, but it would be this directly elected commission. It would have control over CPD, COPA, and police board policies. It would have control over the budget, and I think there are some other things I'm missing, but specifically to the police union contract that you mentioned. So it would be, it's an ordinance, and once the ordinance is passed, it would be a referendum on the ballot. So yeah.
Can we move in? Do you have anything you want to mention? Because we are short on time. The traffic stop.
Yeah, thank you. So in regards to pretextual traffic stops that we've discussed at length, I would love to speak with any of you after the meeting about it, but this is a process update. The consent decree, the federal consent decree court case that has some jurisdiction over Chicago policing as well and oversight due to what they found to be patterns of racist and unconstitutional activity violating federal law. There's a court monitoring policies in Chicago. They are holding a public hearing on June 11th, Tuesday, from 1 to 4:30 p.m., specifically in regards to if they should add traffic stops into the purview of the consent decree. There are a number of people who have a lot of concerns about that, including Karen Arewa Winters, who's a district counselor in the 15th district and is a lead member of the community team that's part of the consent decree. You know, her concern, she's doing all she can to represent the community, but is, you know, routinely somewhat frustrated by feelings of lack of responsiveness from the federal agents. And specifically in regards to this, the Free to Move movement has a number of questions and has grave concerns that if the consent decree takes jurisdiction on a policy, it cannot be decided by CCPSA. There is a clear distinction there. So the CCPSA, in theory, there's nothing holding them back from starting to act on this policy. We know that they were waiting a little bit to be reconfirmed or to find who were the new one. They didn't think that they could get through it before the transition. But they should be able to act quite quickly. The consent decree, on the other hand, has 5% completion after 5 years, which is 1% per year, so it's not really clear how they could add additional topics at this time. So yeah, the Free to Move movement is asking for folks, and this is also on the table, to attend the June 11th consent decree hearing. There is also a virtual hearing earlier from 10 to 12:30, as well as the opportunity to send comments publicly, but if you are at all able to come in person, there'll be a lot of people there.
At the Thursday building, right?
Yes, so the location is 219 South Dearborn Street. The federal Dirksen building. It'll be on the 25th floor in courtroom 2541, and in person from 1 to 4:30. However, you do need to register if you're going to speak by this Tuesday, June 4th. You have to register before end of day by 4:30. By 4:30 on this Tuesday, if you're going to speak on any of the hearings. So please grab a copy, or let me know if you check the email from me, or I can send you the link online so you can register easily. But yeah, that's it for that. Yes. Oh, yeah.
I believe last month we made the request to follow up on the status of the petition on pretextual stops. Do you have?
Yes.
What happened to that?
Well, we're still collecting them across the city. I think that we have, oh, I do have an update. Well, I think that there are a number that haven't been returned to the base. I have 60 that I need to bring back, but I think that they had, last I heard a couple weeks ago, 600 that they were holding, not counting what's out there, not counting my 60 and others. However, there's a goal set of presenting them at the CCPSA hearing in July, which will be, I don't remember the date, but towards the end of July, maybe the 23rd or 27th, somewhere around there. So the goal is to present the petitions to the new commission at their July hearing. That's the update.
So, and I don't mean to cut you off, Councilor Vargas, because I'm going to ask you if you have any input. Because you voted unanimously back in November, if I'm not, if my memory serves me, to bring this forth to the council.
Oh, I've
Commission,
emailed,
council commission.
yeah, I sent that to Driver a long time ago.
Okay, no, and part of that is that, okay, well, I know we're in flux because they're getting, moving the interim team out, and putting the permanent team in, so do we have any kind of idea of what the timeline on that looks like?
I have asked the president, Driver, for a timeline. I have not gotten any specific timeline. There's been a lot of more granular discussions in regards to the consent decree, and other things, but yeah, I don't know exactly, thank you. However, at our quarterly meeting, I will be presenting a proposal for all of the district councilors to formally take up the proposal around ending pretextual traffic stops.
No, I was just curious because I know that we voted on it here, and like I said, I may be a month or two off, but I know it was like November or something.
I wish I had a timeline.
But no, I was just following up on that because I was kind of curious. I mean,
no, I'm glad that you.
No, I mean I've been accused of not being supportive of the efforts.
Sorry.
It's like, okay, well, if our unanimous vote got up there, maybe that would show something different. Any updates on that?
No, I'm looking forward to the quarterly meeting because I'm sure we'll get an update by then, and I'm looking forward to the presentation.
Thank you. All right, restorative justice.
Yeah, and Ashley Vargas. A number of district councilors attended the 4th annual Restorative Justice Conference held at BUILD in Austin. BUILD also has a satellite office in the 14th district on, I forget if it's Kimball or Kedzie, I think near Kimball and North Avenue. So they are a violence prevention intervention group. They run a number of programs. They're very large, especially on the west side. And yeah, I'm not going to talk about the whole program, but it was good. And I will mention 2 quick events. BUILD is having their annual Peace March on Wednesday, this Wednesday, the 5th, from 2 to 7 p.m. BUILD is it starts at 5100 West Harrison. And the march starts, they're going to set off at 3 p.m. sharp. If you are early, they'll have tents, or you can come inside, but they'll have refreshments or things. So there's a march on Wednesday at BUILD, and then also restorative justice training. They have some dates, June 17th, 18th, and 20th. I'm not sure if those are all together or separate ones, but you can scan a QR code if you're interested in that. All right.
Is that the same anti-violence program that you were talking about?
I'm sorry.
You mentioned in your updates about the anti-violence updates. Is that BUILD? Is that the same organization?
BUILD is one of them.
Okay.
This is also a great one. There's a number of different violence prevention orgs that we should invest in.
No, I was just curious if there was a connection there. That's all I was wondering. You have anything that you'd like to add for restorative justice other than what you mentioned there previously? Anything else? Okay. All right. Evidence evidence-based policing or evidence approach to community safety?
Yeah, I don't have much to say. Did I speak in my update about the? Yeah, I already spoke about the event we had on the 18th. We heard some concerns. I do have a question actually about one of the public comments. The shooting rate, what was that a year-to-year month comparison? What was the statistic reference?
I think in, I circled the data, so
The
that
last
particular is shootings year to date through May 26th was the most recent
Gotcha.
report I did using this data source. And it says year to date 2024 compared to 2023 in the 14th district up 111%.
Yeah, that is certainly not a good number. I will say, in terms of the question of our activity, I don't think we've been able to be as proactive immediately as I would have liked, because part of what we're doing is also creating the entire structure and office, occupying it for the first time. I think that last year we were really blessed with a lot fewer shootings and a great outcome in terms of the violence prevention strategies coming into full effect, and the past year has been stressed for a number of reasons, and we're definitely going to continue working on things. It's not acceptable to anyone, and obviously it's a problem.
So if I may, just on the topic of what to do, so we still did submit in March a list of initiatives to explore. We were focused, our committee was focused on robberies, but many of those topics, such as getting down to the arrest rate, find out if that's accurate or not, and as well as cooperation between districts and pursuit policy, and a whole number of things would apply not only to robberies properly, but up to all violent or major crimes. So I just make additional requests to do some work to review those.
Right, and I'll address you directly, Mr. Burke, and I do appreciate your inputs. As a matter of fact, as far as evidence-based policing, if I'm not mistaken, you have contacts at University of Chicago that they basically write the curriculum on evidence-based policing that's shared nationwide, if I'm not mistaken.
So in the document that we provided to the council here in the April meeting, at the end of the April meeting, so it was on Sunday, I think I sent it, there were 4 professors, I believe, or there might have only been 3 professors who were quoted in that document, but a 4th professor did contact me afterwards. So we do have, and these are like nationally renowned evidence-based policing professors from all different parts of the country. So I can put you in touch with them. I have not been able to actually get a response out of the crime lab at the University of Chicago. So, but I think if we really tried, we could get them.
Well, and because I'm about to slide into another topic, but it's going to kind of mesh in together, and if you'll bear with me, we'll get to that in just a second. So I'm going to move on into the special meeting and everything like that. Unless you have something else.
30 seconds. Thank you. We know that a big problem in terms of the police response to public safety is a lack of responsiveness to 911 calls, and we've heard some of the numbers. There have been millions of traffic stops and they've recovered some thousands of guns. However, we can see that recovering guns on that scale it does not prevent shootings. So we definitely need to reinvest all of those resources that are currently being used for things like Dexter Reed, and not responding to half of the 911 calls as reported by the Inspector General. So as you're aware, the traffic stop policy that I'm working actively on is definitely related to evidence, but yeah.
I was gonna say, from going to 10th District meetings, 10th District is North Lawndale area. They're seeing an issue where the resources are getting overwhelmingly put into tactical teams instead of neighborhood policing. And so essentially what that's saying is that the tactical teams are being prioritized, and what suffers is the 911 response times in particular. And that was someone within the neighborhood policing initiative. Jose Avance said that, and if you want to talk to him more about it, but he has a direct line to police officers who are literally working on this kind of stuff. So, I mean, I think I'm just reinforcing David's point about 911 response times, the interconnection with pretextual traffic stops. So, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so, we're good. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and move into the scheduling.
I do that. So just building on that, in pursuit of evidence-based policing, I don't think there's a priori an idea that task forces are bad and community policing is good. There could be a balance of that, but since we do have the commander coming, and I'm sure you're building a list of questions, and there will be some from the community, but from you, I think I would be very interested to know first, what's the status, including orders from Larry Snelling on pretextual stops? What's the staffing on task forces and 911 calls? And there was
Response time on this.
something else building on that, but let's take the opportunity to get specific answers from the commander.
That bridges perfectly
Into the special meeting, right, so, talk about the schedule moving forward. Some of you are aware, and some this may be brand new information. Our next meeting, is gonna be a special meeting. It's gonna be an evening meeting, I think it's a Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. June 27th, so 27 days from today. At Haas Park, which is, if anyone's keeping notes here, 2402 North Washtenaw. That's going to be at 6 p.m. Those of you that may be familiar with Haas Park, that's where they have the National Night Out, August, first Tuesday in August.
And hopefully no youth basketball above us.
No, this is the basketball's at the ground level, so we'll be okay there. But in regards to that, I'm not planning on having an inquiry with Commander Lennis. I think the primary focus of Commander Lennis and her input is going to be focusing on large-scale items such as like the DNC. I'm also going to ask that she commit to have at least a sergeant, and I'll get to a little bit boiled down of what's rolling through the pipeline right now on that subject in just a bit.
Repeat that, and what kind of sergeant?
At least at the minimum a sergeant to attend our meetings on a regular basis. So.
On a regular basis?
Yes, on a regular basis.
I'm sorry, did the community ask for that?
That's what the general order that's going through the pipeline stuff.
So the general order, I think that's a good segue. I was just at the listening session, and it's not confirmed yet that that's gonna be it. They take suggestions from the district counselor, and I of course voiced the opinions of several community members where we want it based on invitation only. So that's what I will say on that.
We got a board item on the agenda. We're gonna boil into that in just a little bit, but we'll.
Right, you brought it up.
No, I mean, but like I said, we're gonna get there. Put a pin in that for right now. Following that, we've got a team from the OEMC that Mr. Van Ganes, I appreciate you putting me in touch. That's gonna be at our July meeting, which is the 6th of July. They've committed to that, and I thank you for all the hard work that you put into connecting the dots and making it happen. So, and that's gonna be at our next regular meeting, which is gonna be held at the 3030 West Fullerton, Logan Square Branch Library. Got a question over here?
I don't think I missed it, but how is that meeting on the 27th? Like, what's the format? How are we going to have, sorry, Ashley.
No, good question. I was gonna comment on
Counselor,
that.
sorry.
No, it's gonna be, it's a meeting just got structured just like this one. We're gonna have Commander Linus talk a little bit about the DNC and the plans and what we can anticipate and that sort of thing. And she'll, after her,
But we asked for the meetings, so we should be part of setting the agenda.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fine to talk about that as well, because it's gonna affect, it's not far from, the United Center is not far from here, there's gonna be a lot of activity going on. I'm not opposed to that, but as we've named here and for the past few months, there are a lot of topics that people want to be addressing with the commander.
okay, well, and you can voice those up to us and we can build the agenda around those items. It's not gonna be an inquiry though.
Why
Is
not?
what
What do you mean?
We want it to be an inquiry.
It's not gonna be an
It's
inquiry.
gonna be an inquiry.
Yes, it is.
Then it's not-
She has
then
to
we're not-
answer our
That's
questions.
not gonna happen.
It's gonna be an inquiry.
She
I
can't
tell
just
you, she's
present
not
whatever
coming in
she
to do
wants,
an
we
inquiry.
can't.
Is she telling you to do that?
We need aldermen.
She telling you to do
aldermen
that?
support here.
Yeah, she is.
That's, I can tell you.
That's
I
what
mean-
she's telling you to do.
That's the whole point of getting her here, is so that she can answer our questions, not just
But
what
it's
you
not gonna
and
be,
she
it's not gonna be a
present.
format of an inquiry though.
My point
Okay.
So I will say that when I met with the commander, I did mention that the community members are asking for an open session, a Q&A, and I told her that the main point of this meeting was to find out how the 14th district works. She didn't disagree with that format at all, the Q&A. So I would like to know where Chris is getting this information on why it can't be an inquiry. When I had a conversation with her, she wasn't opposed to it.
Can I say something here? I've gone to the 18th district meetings, the three of them. And the first two, they had the commander and the deputy commander. And in the last meeting, the commander wasn't there, the deputy commander came. And every one of those meetings, the commander got up and talked for 15 or 20 minutes about what was going on in the 18th district. He then entertained questions from people on anything they wanted to ask for another 20 minutes. So I don't know that doing that, you need a lot of structure for that. And these officers up in front of 35 people, they weren't thrown by that. It was just seemed like a normal conversation. And they asked a lot of hard questions because 18th district is the river going north, a lot of entertainment issues, team takeovers. People were quite unhappy with a lot of things going on. So I don't really see it as a big issue. Just let the commander come and talk for 15 and 20 minutes. When on the
10 minutes of
developments,
Q&A
and then just
after
ask
follow, right.
questions. I don't know if you really need a specific, we've got this topic, ask the topic you want to hear.
So I'd like to speak in support of that, as well as I've attended 2 town halls in the 26th ward, as well as another joint event that was held in the 26th ward. In the first ward, so that's 3 of them, and in all 3 events, there were questions pre-submitted so that the commander would have time to prepare, because some of them might not have fingertip information, right, and require data or other information. So, and then at the insistence of the group in one of those town halls, but pre-planned in the 26th ward, there was an open session. So I would suggest for consideration of the group that we have a 2-week period to submit written questions, which would give the commander 2 weeks to prepare, and that we, after her prepared remarks, we also have a defined period of time for public questions.
I think it's unnecessary.
Well, and she should have an expectation of what's going to happen, and whether it's 20 minutes or an hour or 2 hours is kind of up to her to agree what she's willing to stay for.
So to be clear, and not to sound dictative here, but it's more of a town hall session is what that sounds like, and I'm not against that. And what you're talking about is pretty much like what we normally do when we have guest speakers. Come in, give a presentation, take 10 minutes of Q&A, and we move on with the meeting. That's my anticipation.
Yeah, and they do it every month at the 18th district.
Right. Hopefully this
And
happens.
occasionally they say, we don't have an answer for you, we'll get back to you next month.
Right, and it's my anticipation that these occur a little bit more frequently, so that we get bits and pieces put in at a time, where we can start getting the full picture.
Do you have a question?
We didn't ask for a presentation from the commander. We asked for the commander to come in here and take our questions. So what we want is a Q&A. We don't want a presentation. No one asked about anything about the DNC. That isn't to say that we don't want to hear about the DNC to Marlo's point, but that's not what we've been asking for. We've been asking for a Q&A with the commander. And so if we don't get that, we're not going. But we're getting that.
That's your prerogative, okay?
Yeah, so I think that we should, right, the purpose of this agenda item today should be to finalize the expected agenda for the special meeting. In regards to the presentation focusing on the DNC, I don't think that is the most useful for our district. I know that it will impact the workforce across the city, but we're probably not going to be primarily impacted by the DNC especially. And also, I don't think that that is as big of a concern for policing and public safety as issues like traffic stops or 911 calls or BIA. I think these are all, much more important, as well as other topics that people may bring up. But also, just in regards to presentations on the DNC, we did receive information from the mayor's office as district councilors about that, and they requested that we spread all this information. It's on websites. If anybody is interested or looking for that information, I can share you all the public information. What I do not think would be the best use of our time as district councilors in any of our meetings is to share information that is readily accessible in terms of the police CAPS meetings or whatever. So information that is directly on city websites that is PR is not the focus of community meetings. Community meetings are not for public relations. It's really irrelevant. You can go to your beat meeting or you can look on the website, but I don't think that's what we need to spend our time on.
I have a comment.
Okay.
I don't appreciate that attitude though.
There's no attitude.
You
I'm
sound
short on
like
time.
it.
I'm short on time.
I'm sorry, but I do have to mention that I'm worried on your behavior a little bit.
My behavior?
Yes.
Okay.
Regarding your relationship with the commander, just when you mentioned that you're inviting the sergeant, like on your own agenda, without the community asking for that, worries me. And now that you're emailing the commander back and forth about setting the agenda for the meeting without taking community requests, that doesn't sit well with me.
Noted. Thank you.
It's noted, but what are you gonna do about it?
Could I suggest that when you, Commissioner Lauren, communicate with the 14th District Commander, that you copy the two other counselors on every single
Now, that's
email?
illegal. That's explicitly
Well,
illegal.
You can copy Anna.
What do you mean?
It violates OMA is what Mr. Burke.
It's a violation of.
All right,
I'd
we're
like to
gonna
make
have
some
to
resolution
stay
in terms of the meeting.
It is
In
illegal.
the interest of
All right.
potential compromise, I propose that, so it will be a special meeting of the 14th District Council. We will follow the requisites in terms of roll call quorum,
Standard format.
public comment, and then as a compromise, I think that it would make sense to offer the commander some time to present on whatever she would wish, but I would limit that maybe to 10 minutes, and then I'm okay. I'm okay with different format. There should definitely be a portion that is open questions. If people want to do the question submissions ahead of time, I'm okay with the mixed format as well. Do you have preferences?
I have no issue with that.
Yeah, so, yeah, should we do this where you submit some questions ahead of time, or just the open, or what?
I agree with a
That's-
couple of questions to submit ahead of time, but also have open comment. I know you mentioned 10 minutes for open comment. I think that's way too short, even in your regular meetings.
10 minutes for the commander to say whatever she would like to say to us.
His initial was 10 minutes for open questions. I think that's way too short, considering even at this particular meeting, we have 20 minutes. So I think it should be, double that, in my opinion, but, that might be too much. I also think that the DNC, yeah, maybe that's an important thing for the city, but we are looking for systemic issues in our 14th police district. I think that would be much more, informative for us to get answers
Okay, so I think we could, thank you, I think we could start with 10 minutes where the commander can present on whatever she would like. I think it does make sense that I at least have a couple questions that I could pre-submit, and if there are individuals who would like to pre-submit some questions, they're welcome to do that. So we could then have some amount of time, I guess, maybe 10 minutes for her responding to the pre-submitted questions, and then we can have an open Q&A session up to 20 minutes.
Okay.
Does this sound acceptable to, okay.
Is it a 40-minute meeting?
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
Okay.
I agree.
I don't wanna be rude
How
here.
long is the meeting expected to be?
Roughly an hour to an hour and a half is what we're looking
Okay,
at.
so it sounds like there should be more time for each of those sections as you described.
We will have the public comment at the start.
Right.
It'll be structured like these meetings.
It'll be follow our normal format.
But we won't have other business really
Well,
aside from
basically,
this.
that'll be, take up our discussions aspect.
Just on the topic of the DNC, I just want to throw out that that's in August, which is the peak crime period, and so I have a real concern that resources will be moved to the DNC and, in a sense, removed from our community, and I would like to hear how the commander expects
Really
to
broadly, the plan
mitigate
is they're
that.
sharing resources with like Minneapolis, with other cities, so we're borrowing police officers from other cities for the DNC, and then we're gonna share officers for the RNC.
Which could be great, but
Okay.
I'm just concerned that we'll lose resources.
Okay. Not to be rude, I'm
Sure.
very short on time here, so I need to get through the rest of our items. I've got other obligations personally. So,
Well, but they're supposed to go to
There's more
2:30.
questions.
Right.
And you're
Okay.
just gonna declare it over?
Moving on to our next item. Currently, the CCPSA is working with CPD as far as drafting a general order that has direct regard to our meetings here at the Police District Councils. As my colleague, Councilor Vargas had mentioned, there are a lot of troublesome items in there, but there's a lot of good progress it's trying to make. I can kind of share surface level things because, like I said, they're still trying to boil things out. They're taking a lot of input from the district counselors, and as a matter of fact, I agree with you. I don't think that it should be compulsory that they attend. However, if the direction that they're going, they're looking to make it mandatory for command staff level to appear at every one of these meetings.
That's how it looks it's going, but they're still not done taking
Right.
inputs, and I don't appreciate you inviting a sergeant before this is even out.
I haven't invited a sergeant.
I thought you mentioned that you were talking to the commander about inviting a sergeant every meeting.
No. It's my anticipation that I have a sergeant here every meeting.
Sorry, is there a quick question?
I just, you know, I'm a really busy person, like a lot of people here. Busy people tend to be the people who show up. And I don't know why we keep having this conversation over and over again. Like, we said from the very first meeting last summer, we want to be able to ask the community to come when we have topics to talk about, not de facto. And if this is something that is in motion, I want it to be registered as the district counselors are talking on the citywide level, that not every district is the same, and we want to be the ones who make that determination. That is a huge part of the purpose of these bodies around the city, is for community control, not for one or three people to continue to decide the agenda. Not saying, and on the top of that, if we ask for the community to be here, whatever the frequency is, we're people who really care about the community and are invested in our community, and I would think that there would be an interest to respond to that. You know, I kind of could care less about ownership, but I am a homeowner, and I just got my assessment, and my assessment went up 30%. I don't want to be told that the commander isn't going to come here to this meeting because she doesn't have time, or we're going to have a sergeant when we really want to have a commander. I'm here on my time, I'm not being paid, you know, and I'm going to keep coming because I feel it's really, really important to keep to the purpose of what ECPS is all about, and all of the hard work that many of you and others across the city are doing, and I want to see it carried not just to the will of, as you had said before, there are CAPS meetings to talk about different kinds of issues, and we want to keep the intent of this meeting.
Thank you, Marla.
Okay, but, back to what I was talking about, the general order. This is something that's, like I said, it's getting a lot of pushback, a lot of left and right movement on it as far as the language, as far as the requirements and that sort of thing. Just wanted to keep you all abreast of it before it starts getting too big to where we can't have any input in. Any comments on that, Council Rosenbaum?
Yes, thank you. A couple, I'll try to remain brief. Yeah, I think the number one major point, certainly, that we've talked about and heard from the community on is about wanting to have command level attend when invited, but not to have police be a required de facto presence. I think, yeah, for me personally, specifically, I do not want to have sergeants be required to attend, CAP sergeants. That's sort of the worst of both worlds. When we do have serious questions, we need leadership level to answer those serious questions. You can always find the CAP sergeants at the CAPS meetings or other events. So that's not really an issue. Currently it says that they must make every effort, the commander, to attend every meeting or to send a lieutenant or above. That's just the current draft that is still in flux. And I and Ashley have been advocating on your behalf as well and our own that it should again be on request. Quickly, a couple other issues in it. We had requested, well, the two positives, the positives in it are that they established some better communication lines. Both Larry Snelling is supposed to have a staff in his office to manage relations with district councils and their requests, as well as the local leadership is meant to designate someone who may be the individual sergeant referenced who came into the last meeting, I'm not sure. But they're supposed to designate a staff to be our sort of liaison. So two things that are left too vague that are actually not included in the order but are included in a CPD guidebook for the district counselors are access to roll calls and CPIC alerts. Or CPIC, we had asked for a standard on those things as well as attendance, and that standard is not currently in the order because if different district counselors make individual requests, some of them may be answered and some may be ignored, which is what we've seen. So if district counselors are going to be given special privilege and access that is not, standard to the public, we want, greater consistency in that rather than favoritism. You shouldn't have to, whatever. Anyway, yeah, thank you.
I have a question.
Please be brief.
You mentioned that they would come at request. Will that be two-sided? They can request to attend a meeting if they feel necessary, or I just was curious. Okay.
There's nothing that would prevent that.
Right. Well, and to be clear, the OMA laws, we can't prohibit anyone from attending these meetings.
Cool.
But
I mean, if
I
they
know
wanted to.
it seems like I'm in disagreement here, but I'm in complete agreement to where it's like I don't want them to be required to show up here every month. So just to be clear there. All right. Do you want to talk about the budget real quick?
Yes, thank you. So we've been told that we have roughly $4,000 that we can spend for 2024, which is half over, so I'm a little anxious to get moving on it. Specifically, the most important thing is just that I prepare for this June 23rd outreach at the farmer's market. I want to spend, I think it's less than that, but up to maybe $100 on a banner or tablecloth that can be reused by the 14th District Council for decades, probably. In terms of more generally, I do, we can maybe push this conversation again. Unfortunately, have not received any guidelines from our staff in terms of items that we can or cannot use this on, which has been frustrating. I am hopeful that we could maybe use some of it to pay for canvassing, an independent contractor to help with outreach. We haven't seen any outreach on behalf of the city for the district councils. So, I think that would be a good use of our funds. In general, yeah, things like equipment that could last for a long time, I think are a good investment. There are other things like digital subscriptions that, might burn the money faster, but We could get phone numbers for as little as like $6 a month if we wanted that or something. So yeah, I think staff for canvassing is an idea that I'm exploring and not even sure if that's feasible or not. But I definitely plan to make budget requests for a banner before the 23rd.
Okay.
Yeah, so with the budget, just my ideas would be, probably to bring more diversity in the room with age. I want young people in the room, who are most affected by, police violence probably. And also, I want more Black and brown people in the room, more diversity, and I think we can do that by spending the budget on outreach, whether that be buying food, candy, going to high school and presenting on the work we do. There's a number of different high schools that are public high schools like Schurz, Kelvin Park, Aspida, that we can possibly go and present at, and then just provide snacks and maybe like outreach material, maybe like literature on talking about goals and what we want to see. If we can pay youth, that would be awesome. A stipend or something for outreach would be cool, and creating safe spaces for youth to come by and share their ideas about police accountability and safety, how they would feel safe, is my idea of how to spend that money.
Very good points, from both of you. The only thing that I'm a little concerned about, and I brought this up briefly last month, is the procurement process in order to use those funds. And I'm not picking on you.
Basically, it's all throughout gross.
No, don't get me wrong. I'm not picking on you, because I like the idea of having table skirt and everything like that, especially when you're doing, you know, the farmer's market, things like that. I think that's a great idea. I think to use the budget money to do it, you might run into quite a number of roadblocks, because you probably have to go through a city-approved contractor and that sort of thing. So that's where I'm starting to get, okay, well, how do we navigate this? How do we legitimately utilize the money?
For the contractor, I feel like that's where we have a COC. Maybe we'll get like a new contract. Like I don't know where that's heading for us, but if we can get youth, that would be better.
So you understand my concern there? Not that I'm saying no. I mean, I'd fork over $100 to get it done today.
Yeah, there's a city department of budget and planning that our executive director has to work with on different requests.
Right.
But so I can send a suggested link or whatever, and then if they decide, no, we have to do something else, then they'll figure it out, they'll tell us.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't know what the turnaround time and that sort of thing. So I mean, if you can make it happen, good. If you need $100 to go get a table tent made, you know, a table skirt made, I'll get the VFW or somebody like that to donate it to you.
Also, quickly, thank you. One frustrating thing I've been told is that the money may not be used for food in different ways. And I asked for clarification. I'm not sure what the clarification is yet. We need more clarification.
Right, and that's probably part of the procurement process that I was talking about, where it's like, well, no, it's got to go, like, hey, yeah, you can go to, you know, FedEx Kinko's and get a table skirt made. Well, that's not a contract. You need to go through this particular printer that we use. And it's like, okay, yeah, I get it. But anyway, one quick question, keep it brief.
Yeah, it's a question. In terms of outreach, is it possible to prioritize the southern part of the district, which we know probably faces the brunt of police crimes? And I would like to see more people in these meetings who experience police crimes firsthand. And so, you know, that's an ask as a resident.
Thank you for your input. Anything else about the budget we want to talk about? All right. Nothing else, can we get a motion to close?
Sure.
All right, you
I
got
just
it.
wanted to bring you those votes that we did not hear the approval of the minutes for the March meeting.
But I believe that was a typo.
Yeah, that was a typo.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Apologies for that. Thank you for looking.
All right.
I'll motion to approve.
Sally has a
Oh, yeah, of course.
I thought we were gonna talk a bit about the questions that we wanted to send to the commander before she comes here?
We can.
We can have a open just listening session immediately following the meeting to take any of those questions in. I believe that for 2 weeks, anyone may submit questions, and we will, compile a final list that we submit to the commander for the pre-planned portion. Additionally, we will have a longer open portion.
So we submit them to whom?
You can come talk to me right after the meeting.
Okay.
I think you can definitely send them to me.
Okay.
I want to
Yeah.
see them, and you can send it to
To
every
any
one
of
of
us.
us.
Email all 3 of us at once, yeah.
All 3 of us.
That's legal.
Yeah.
It is
You can send it.
We can
we won't
do
talk
it.
much about it. We'll
We
put each
can do
other
it,
on
they
CC.
can't do it.
Yeah.
I can email you, but you all can't respond.
Well, we can visually
Like
respond,
law.
yes. Please be brief.
Yes,
Yeah.
so you were mentioning that there would be, the meeting would be like this, where there'd be a public comment number 2. Does that mean public comment number 2, and then at the very end, there's Q&A? Because sometimes some of our public comments refer back to things that have been said, and so I am almost positive that people will want a Q&A after their public comment. So we have 2 public comment, and then the last number, whatever it winds up being, 3 or 7, Q&A. Because
Yep.
public comment is very different than
Yes,
responding to
the
questions.
public comment was not planned as the open Q&A portion. And, I'm hope the public comment may go quickly if people are waiting to get to their other questions. Right. Thank you.
Can we get a motion to close?
Motion.
Oh, Kathy, how are we going to advertise this? For example, today, I didn't get any notice from you, Christopher, regarding the meeting today and putting the agenda out. I've been to almost every single meeting since they started last summer. Why aren't I getting emails? I want a big crowd here for this meeting on the 27th, so how can we make sure that you're gonna send the list out to everybody who's ever attended one of these meetings?
David said.
Our community outreach.
We'll post something on the Facebook page, this week, and, folks will be able to reference and share it from there.
I can reach out to older people.
Yeah, I think we
And
need to
probably
include the
state
older
reps.
people, we need to get this out in a big way, because it's a big thing to
Yeah.
get her here.
Yeah.
And I want a decent crowd. There's a few, Haas Park has a big auditorium, so I'm not worried about,
I am happy to continue talking with, I will stay here. I understand Chris needs to go. I don't know if this needs to be officially in the meeting or if this can just continue.
Well, I would like to see it included in the minute notes that we're gonna do this, that we're gonna advertise it in as many ways as possible. I think it's part of planning for this meeting, not just something after the fact.
No, I agree. I'll do my best.
And with that in mind, I'm gonna trust that our community outreach will do everything in its power to make that happen.
Maybe we can get a flyer, Anna?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, without further ado, can I get a motion to close?
Motion.
A second?
Yes.
All right, time now is 25 minutes after 2. We are adjourned.
If you would like to